Digestive system, its name is telling you the main function of this system, right? Digestion of food, but it has other important functions too. So first we'll see the parts of the digestive system. Okay, parts. The digestive system has two parts: gastrointestinal tract and accessory digestive organs. So two parts. GI tract or gastrointestinal tract is a tube from the mouth to the anus. It's a long continuous tube. Okay? And what are the parts of that tube? First is the oral cavity or mouth. You know that. That's the first organ. Starts from the oral cavity or mouth, right? Then next is the pharynx. It's a muscular tube. Then next is the esophagus. Right? It's a narrow tube for your food, to take the food from the pharynx to the stomach. Okay? So esophagus is a narrow tube that takes the food from the pharynx to what? The stomach. Okay? Then the stomach. Now you see that from the pharynx you get the esophagus, right? It's a narrow tube, long narrow tube. Then the tube gets what? Very wide, big, to form the stomach, right? So, but it is a continuous tube. Make sense? So it gets suddenly wide and big, that is the stomach. Then the tube again gets narrow and long, that is the small what? Intestine. And then it again gets wider, and that is the large intestine. Large intestine. Okay, so you see that it is a continuous tube, but in some places it is narrow, in some places it is what? Wider. Yeah. Accessory organs are located outside of that tube, outside of GI tract. Teeth, tongue, pancreas, liver, gallbladder. Those belong to the accessory organs. Teeth helps in what? Simple. Teeth helps to do what? To cut, break the food, large food into small, right? So that is actually digestion, breakdown of food. So teeth. Tongue helps to mix the food with saliva. Salivary secretion occurs in the mouth, right? So helps to mix the food with the saliva, as well as swallowing, initiate the swallowing of the food. Make sense? After you mix the food in the mouth, right, with saliva, then you do what? Push the food towards the pharynx, right? So that is helped by the tongue, initiated by the tongue. So swallowing is initiated by the tongue. Pancreas produces pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice. Very important. Pancreatic juice is very important for digestion. Liver. The nutrients are first processed in the liver. So, after the nutrients are taken into the blood from the intestine, the blood goes to the liver, okay, by hepatic portal circulation. Remember that? Portal circulation. So, why from the intestine the nutrients are taken to the liver? Because liver processes the nutrients first, right? Then will send to the other parts of the body. Gallbladder. Gallbladder stores bile, and bile helps in fat digestion and absorption of fat. Absorption. Okay, so bile is also very important, and bile is stored in the gallbladder. So when you eat fat-rich food, more bile is released from the gallbladder. So those are the parts, okay, of the digestive system. Then we'll see the processes. In the digestive system, following processes, 6 activities occur or take place: ingestion, propulsion, mechanical digestion, chemical digestion, absorption, and excretion or defecation. Same thing. Excretion of feces or defecation. Now, what is ingestion? Look at me. First thing what you do when you start eating, put your food in the mouth, right? So that is ingestion. Putting the food in the mouth. Is it clear? Ingestion. Then propulsion. The food starts to move upwards or downwards? Downwards, right? So that movement of the food through the GI tract, through the tube, that is called propulsion. Okay? Movement of the food. Then, while the food passes through your GI tract, the large food is converted to what? Small nutrients, small food molecules. So breakdown of food takes place. You all know that, right? Breakdown of food. And very simple, breakdown of food is called digestion. Is it clear? So now you tell me, breakdown of food starts where? In the stomach or in the mouth? Mouth. So digestion starts in the mouth, right? Now, it continues. When food goes to the stomach, acidic secretion occurs, right? In the stomach, further breakdown occurs. Make sense? So, digestion or breakdown starts in the mouth but is not completed in the mouth. It continues, right? And as the food goes downwards, more and more digestion or breakdown of food occurs. Is it clear? And finally, the large food becomes fine food molecules. Fine food what? Molecules. And those are called the nutrients. Okay? So nutrients are the food, fine food molecules. Now, digestion could be mechanical and chemical, both. Inside the mouth, you crush the food, right? Chew the food. That is mechanical or chemical? Mechanical, by pressure, right? By pressure is mechanical. Also, what happens in the mouth? Secretion of saliva. You know that. Saliva has the chemicals that will also break the food. Is it clear? So that is chemical digestion. So in the mouth, both mechanical, that is by pressure, right? And by saliva, chemical digestion occurs. Both occur in the mouth. Now, two foods are chemically digested in the mouth. All three types of food, like proteins, carbohydrates, fats, are mechanically, right? You crush everything, right? Proteins, carbohydrates, fats, you crush everything. So mechanical digestion of all those three types of foods occur in the mouth, right? But chemical secretion, two types of chemicals are secreted, lipase and amylase, not protease. Now lipase is for lipid, LL, and amylase for carbs, carbohydrates. So secretion of lipase and amylase occurs in the mouth. This is called lingual lipase for lipid digestion, amylase for carbohydrates digestion. Okay, so chemical digestion of lipids and carbohydrates, but not protein, occurs in the mouth. But mechanical digestion of all those three types of food occur in the mouth. Absorption. When the food reaches in your small intestine, the food is already converted to fine molecules, and those fine molecules are called nutrients, right? So nutrients will be taken into the blood from the small intestine. Is it clear? The nutrients will be taken or sucked by the blood from the intestine, right? Small intestine, and that is called absorption. Is it clear? So absorption is the process by which the nutrients are taken into the blood from your intestine. Is it clear? If the food remains big, large pieces of food, can blood take it? No, blood cannot take large pieces, right? So very fine nutrients, blood can only suck, right? So that's why you need digestion for absorption. Okay? Without digestion, absorption will not occur. Make sense? So that's why digestion is essential. Defecation. Those foodstuffs remain in the intestine. Those are not taken into the blood. They will get out from the body as feces, right? And that is called defecation, by which the feces gets out from the digestive system, from the GI tract. Defecation. So those are the activities take place in the digestive system. So here in this picture you see those things. Covering of the abdominal cavity. Inside the abdominal cavity you have the digestive organs, and those organs are covered by a double layered connective tissue serous membrane that is called the peritoneum. So this is the body cavity. This is the thorax diaphragm. So this is the thoracic cavity. This is the abdominal cavity. So this is the wall of the abdominal cavity. Okay. And inner surface of the abdominal cavity has a membrane that is called the parietal layer of the peritoneum. Parietal peritoneum. And then what happens, you see, this one is attached to the wall of the abdominal cavity, also here. And then goes inwards like this. And this is, for example, your intestine. This is your stomach. Okay? So another one goes like this from here and covers the internal digestive organs like this. Okay? And from here again goes to the wall like this. Okay? Can go like this to another organ, covering another organ, and then go to the wall here. Okay? So you see here, this is the layer or membrane that is attached to the wall of the abdomen. That is the parietal layer of peritoneum, and the one going inwards and covering the internal organs, for example, your stomach, your liver, your intestine. Okay? All those digestive organs are covered, and this layer is called the visceral layer. Visceral peritoneum. Okay? Make sense? Yes.
Is it safe to say that any lining that covers an organ is going to be the visceral, and anything that covers the wall is
yeah.
going to be a
Parietal, yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay? But actually, same structure, right? Going inwards and covering the internal organs. Okay? Now, this is the visceral peritoneum. This is the parietal peritoneum. Is it clear? And this part that is going inwards, that is called the mesentery. That is structure. Mesentery. The double layered structure getting in, that part is called mesentery. Now, you see, between the parietal and visceral, you have big space, lot of space in the abdominal cavity, right? Between the visceral and parietal. And this is called the peritoneal cavity. Peritoneal cavity. So you see, peritoneal cavity is a big cavity, right? Big cavity around your abdominal organs. Sometimes you know, if chronic ulcer can destroy the wall, make perforation or hole in the wall of the stomach or intestine. If you don't treat the ulcer, that can happen, and the food stuff can get out here. You know, appendicitis, appendix is attached to the cecum, large intestine. So appendix is here, for example. If appendix bursts, ruptures, then the food stuffs will get out, will enter into the peritoneal cavity, and will spread everywhere because you have fluid that is called the peritoneal fluid inside the cavity. It's like, you know, pericardial cavity, pleural cavity, you have fluid, right? So similarly, in your peritoneal cavity, which is big, right, you have fluid. And when the hole, you know, is formed in the wall of the stomach, food stuffs will get out, right? And acidic content is highly, stomach content is highly what? Acidic, right? And food stuffs. It's, you know, a lot of toxic chemicals could be there, can get out and spread all over the abdominal cavity quickly, makes sense? And can cause the, it's like poisoning of other organs, internal organs, okay? And other organs may fail, okay, due to that poisonous toxic chemicals, okay? So that is a serious condition that can, if you don't treat appendicitis, rupture occurs, and you know the toxic chemicals can spread and affect other internal organs, and that could cause serious consequences. Anyway, so sepsis, septic can occur. So that is the peritoneum. There's two layers, visceral and parietal, and the cavity between those two. Here you see the same picture I did draw. This is at one level section where you have the small intestine, for example. Here you have stomach and liver. So this section, cross section, is upper level where you have the liver and the stomach. Okay, here. And this one is here. Here you have intestine. So you don't see the liver and the stomach here. Anyway, so two sections. Now you see here, this is the abdominal wall. So this is the parietal peritoneum going inwards. This is the mesentery, and this is the visceral peritoneum. Same thing here, parietal, mesentery, visceral peritoneum. Okay. Now here you see it covers the stomach, then goes to the liver, covers the liver, and then goes to the body wall. So there are dorsal and ventral mesentery. This is the back of the body, this is the front. So ventral mesentery, dorsal mesentery. Okay. Now, mesentery is important. Why? You see, the mesentery are tying the internal digestive organs to the wall, working like ropes, right? Holding them, coming from the wall, wall is strong, right? Coming from the wall and tying them. So the internal, abdominal cavity is a big cavity, right? Your liver is here, your stomach is here. If you don't tie them to the wall, what will happen? They will go down, right? Because of their weight will go down. Everything will go to the bottom, right? But that doesn't happen because mesentery, they are working like, belt or rope to tie them to the wall. Make sense? Number one. Holding the internal digestive organs in right locations in the abdominal cavity. Is it clear? Keeping them in right locations. Otherwise, everything will go to the bottom. Number one. Number two, you see there is a space between these two. And through that space, blood vessels, nerves, they enter into the organs. Okay? So from the wall, the blood vessels and nerves can pass through the space between those two, right? So it provides passage for the blood vessels and nerves. A lot of fat gets attached to the mesentery. So storage of fat is another function. There is a tendency that fat accumulates or get attached to the mesentery. So we can consider that as a stored fat. So here you see routes for blood vessels, lymphatic nerves, hold the organs in the right place in the abdominal cavity, and the storage of fat. Make sense? So those are the functions. Now we'll talk about the first organ of the digestive system, which is the mouth. mouth is the first organ or oral cavity, also called buccal cavity. Now, if you see the boundary of the mouth, you already know, okay? So this is the oral cavity, right? The front part is what? Lips, upper and lower lips, right? That's the front, anterior boundary, right? The roof of the mouth is the what? If you put your finger and move up, what? Palate, right? So palate is the roof of the oral cavity. And the floor is the tongue. Tongue is the floor, okay? So, those are the structures, give the boundary. And in both sides, you have the cheeks. So, laterally, cheek. So, roof is the palate, lateral walls by the cheek, muscles, and floor by the tongue. And anterior boundary formed by the lips. Lining of the oral cavity is stratified squamous because the friction is high. The chance of friction is high. You swallow the food, you chew the food, so stratified squamous. Now, if you look inside the oral cavity or mouth, a number of structures you see. Some of these structures you already know. This is the palate, the roof, this is the tongue, this is the soft palate, this is the hard palate. So soft palate ends like this, that you can see actually if you ask somebody to open the mouth big, you will be able to see a structure hanging there like that. That is the uvula, the end of the soft palate. Okay? Now, under the tongue, you have a tissue that attaches the tongue to the tissue underneath. That is called the lingual frenulum. Lingual means tongue. So frenulum is that tiny tissue structure. And here you see similar structure that connects the lip to the gum. That is called labial frenulum. Lingual means what? Tongue. And labial means lip. Okay, remember that. So lingual frenulum attaches the tongue to the tissue underneath, and labial attaches the lip to the gum. Make sense? Now how many lips you have? Two, upper and lower, right? So you have two labial frenulum, superior and inferior. Okay, so you see the labial frenulum. Now, under the tongue, you have openings of the salivary ducts. From the salivary glands, ducts are the tubes that bring the saliva into the oral cavity or mouth. So those ducts open here. You see the tiny openings. So some of those are for sublingual salivary glands, and some are from the submandibular salivary glands. So you have sublingual salivary glands, you have submandibular salivary glands, and from those glands, these ducts bring the saliva and release the saliva into the oral cavity or mouth. And that opening is the opening are located under the tongue. Gum is the area between your lip and the tip. So tip and lip, in between you have the gum or gingiva. You can also see the palatine tonsils in both sides of the back of the oral cavity. So those are some structures you see here. Palate is the roof of the oral cavity, and it is formed by two bones, So hard part is the bony part and soft part is the muscular part. So this is the soft palate. Soft palate. Whose phone is this?
I'm turning it off.
Okay. And this is the bony part, hard palate. Okay. So hard palate is formed by two bones. Anterior 2/3 is by maxilla and posterior 1/3, this is 1/3 part, by palatine bone. Okay. So anterior 2/3 by maxilla, posterior 1/3 by palatine. So this part is the hard palate. Okay, the bony palate. And in the back, you have a skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle. That is the soft palate. Now, the skeletal muscle has a thick, very thick covering of mucosa, thick mucosal covering, okay, like this. Okay, and the end part that is hanging, you see free end, that is the uvula. Okay, so that is the palate. Tongue. Tongue is a very interesting organ of your body. Why? Tongue has many different interesting functions and they are different from each other, different types of functions. I mentioned one, right? After the salivary secretion occurs, tongue helps to mix the food with saliva, right? To help to form the bolus of food, food bolus formation, okay? That helps to swallow. Now, tongue has other functions too. It initiates the swallowing I mentioned, right? Mixing the food with saliva, number one. Number two, initiates what? Swallowing. Tongue has taste buds. You know that, right? Taste buds help to taste the food. So that is another very important function, right? Without tasting the food, the life is boring, right? You want to enjoy the life. So, tasting of the food. Tongue helps to produce what? Speech, right? Speech. So you see, there are different types of functions, right? Are helped by the tongue. And tongue has interesting movement. It can move all different possible ways. You can move upwards, downwards, right? Laterally, angular movement. You can retract the tongue, make it short, make it long, right? So you have all different types of movements occur in the tongue. Now, the muscles of the tongue. This is your tongue, and many muscles come from the bones around the mouth and get attached to the tongue from different directions. So these are the muscles. Come from the bones, these are the bones, okay, and get attached to the tongue. They help to move the tongue to different directions. That makes sense. Now, inside the tongue, you also have muscles. And these are the muscles help to make the tongue short and long, change the shape of the tongue. So those muscles are inside the tongue. They help to change the shape of the tongue. For example, if these muscles get short, tongue will get short, right? And if they relax, tongue will get long. But these muscles help to move up and down in different directions. So these are the intrinsic muscles. Intrinsic muscles help to change the shape, and these are the extrinsic muscles coming from the bones around. Extrinsic muscles help to move the tongue in different directions. Okay. Okay. Now, on the surface of the tongue, you all know, if you see the tongue, you have tiny structures. Those are called papilla. Papilla that you can see on the surface of the tongue. Okay. In the front part of the tongue, everywhere you will see tiny dots. Those are called, two types of papilla are there. They are distributed like, throughout the front part of the tongue. Fungiform papilla and filiform. So these two types of papilla are everywhere in the front part of the tongue. If you see both sides of the back part of the tongue, all the way back, you have papilla, different types of papilla here. These are called foliate. Foliate papilla. Okay. And in the superior surface of the tongue, in the back part all the way, you have another type of papilla. These are larger and only few in number, and they form inverted V, and these are called circumvallate. Circumvallate papilla. So you see 4 different types of papilla. They are located in different locations in the tongue, and their size and shape are different. Now, inside the papilla, you have taste buds. In circumvallate, foliate, and fungiform, if you open the papilla, you will find taste buds. Filiform papilla have no taste buds, no taste receptors. Okay. Other 3, they have taste receptors, taste buds. Now, tongue and on the surface of the tongue, you have papilla, 4 different types, right? Now, if I get one papilla, for example, if I take a fungiform papilla here and open it, I will see taste bud inside it. Taste buds. So inside the papilla, you have taste buds. And if I see one taste bud, it looks like an orange. Of course, not that big. It's under the microscope, you have to see. This is a taste bud, and inside the taste bud, this is interesting. You have the taste receptor cells. Inside each taste bud, you have, it's like an orange, and if you open the orange, you will see the slices, right? Segments, like that. So this is one. This is another. Okay. These are the taste receptor cells. This is another one. This is another one. So this whole thing is like an orange, that is the taste bud, and if I peel it, the skin, I'll see the taste receptor cells. So these are the receptor cells inside the taste bud. So let me write down here, inside the taste bud, we have the receptor cells. Now, you see, these receptor cells are for different types of tastes. For example, this one is for sweet. This one is for, give me another taste, sour. This one is for bitter or salty. Yeah. Okay. This one is, another taste is called umami, this taste of protein. Okay. So that's why you have different, types of receptor cells inside the body, because you taste different food, different taste, sweet, sour, bitter, salty. Okay. Now, on the top of the receptor cells, you have hair-like structures. Hair-like structures. These are called hair. So that's fine. Easy. Hair. And taste receptors are attached to the hair. So now remember, I mentioned before too, when I talked about the olfactory, on the cilia, you remember the smell receptors are there. So receptors and receptor cells are two different things. These tiny structures attached to the hair, these are the receptors. And this whole thing is the receptor cell. Okay? So on the receptor cell, why these are called receptor cells? Because they have receptors on the hair. Okay, so receptors, okay, attached to the hair. Now the last thing. So receptor cells have receptors. Okay. If this is sweet, what will happen? The sweet food molecules will get attached to these receptors. If this is sour, the sour molecules will get attached to the receptors here. Okay, so we'll activate that receptor cell. Okay, and then the signal from these receptor cells will be taken to the brain by the nerves. Okay, so those are the papilla and how the receptors are located inside the papilla. Okay. Now if you see this picture, it will be very clear. So you see fungiform and filiform are in the front of the tongue, in the back, in both sides. These are foliate and these are circumvallate, form inverted V. Salivary glands. Three types of salivary glands are around the mouth or oral cavity, and they release saliva. Saliva is the fluid or liquid secretion that is very important for two reasons. Saliva saliva comes from three glands. The largest glands are parotid glands. Parotid glands. Here, located just in front and a little bit below the ear. Parotid glands. These are the largest. Then submandibular, under the mandible. Makes sense. Under the mandible, that's why submandibular. And sublingual, under the what? Tongue. Lingual means tongue, right? So those are the salivary glands. And saliva helps to keep the mouth clean, because saliva has the chemicals that can destroy the microorganisms. Okay? So destroy the bacteria inside the mouth. So very helpful, right? Keeps the mouth safe and clean. Moistures and dissolves food chemicals. Saliva gets mixed with the food, and that helps you to taste the food. What do you think? If your mouth is very dry, you eat any food, put in the mouth, do you taste it? No. You don't taste the food until the food gets mixed with saliva, right? Until the salivary secretion occurs.